we were in Dilemma, and then Reyes
we were starting to hang
filled
out
in.
Hung out with Dez. They had a band.
Oh, right.
Happy Tampon.
Oh,
They were called Happy Tampon, I think.
We were called the Happy Tampons,
And or the fucking pork chops.
the fucking pork chops.
We had two names.
We were thinking about the Kissable Cuties because we thought that maybe girls would like that, but then we said, no, the Happy Tampons, that's more.
Yeah, they're gonna love that one.
Braun was one of the kids that lived at the church. Or the kid that lived at the church, and he was just like a friend of Black Flag.
You know, the first time I started going to the church, I used to hang out in what was Greg's living room at the time and watch him play guitar for hours on end. I mean, the guy practiced all day long, and I would sit there and just watch him play guitar for like literally hours on end. And just hang out, and then they'd rehearse, and there'd be some drinking and stuff like that. But it was pretty low-key. Then I moved in, and then pretty much all hell broke loose after that. Because I moved in and kind of blew the cool. Like, it was like, Ron, keep it down. You know, like, Ron, what are you doing? You know, Ron, don't do that. Ron, don't stand out there.
You're not supposed to have people living there.
I moved in under the premise of using the space as storage and or doing some kind of art, because it was an art center. And so the landlord rented me this room in the basement for like, you know, $20 a month, so I decided to move in there. And then we started playing our little, you know, 10-minute sets. The Happy Tampons would set up and play down there. And that's when people started to come to the church to hang out and to party, and it started becoming a little bit of a punk house, a little bit of a more of a gathering place. And to the point where, you know, sometimes people would just walk into my living room. I'd still be asleep. Living room, it was all one room basically. But, you know, or people would just start assuming that, hey, let's go to the church and hang out. But I actually lived there. I slept there, right? So there'd be times, either early in the morning or late at night, where I just wanted people to leave. So there was two things that I would do. I would play Metal Machine music by Lou Reed, and that would clear the room pretty fucking quick.
Or if that didn't work, he'd play drums to
Right.
Metal Machine music by Lou Reed.
And there's no beat to that record or anything like that. It's total chaos. But the thing that really was the clincher is I didn't know how to play drums, but back then the Knack had came out and it had My Sharona, and all the punks hated the Knack. They hated My Sharona. They hated that stuff, right? Because it was kind of popular and stuff like that. And I picked up, that was the first beat that I ever learned how to play. The bum, 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 bum. So I would go on the drum set and play that for 10 minutes and drive everyone crazy, and they would leave. Now, if you listen to the first Redd Kross records and the beat on there, a lot of it comes from that My Sharona beat. Because it's pretty much all I knew at the time.
Because it didn't sound anything like Black Flag. And it sounded like a couple 12-year-old kids screaming over My Sharona beat.
But then when the Tourists wanted a new drummer, and they asked me if I wanted to play drums, because they knew they were starting to rehearse there already. In fact, they might have even been using that kit. And they knew it was my kit. And when John was no longer going to be in the band, they asked me if I would play.
And Ron was a bass player, and he never played drums before. But he had a drum set.
I mean, obviously there was a connection with the musical taste, and we liked and enjoyed the same music. And that's what it was all about. I mean, understand that it wasn't about, you know, there wasn't a culture. The culture didn't exist. We created it. It wasn't something we were trying to fit into. We were actually becoming that. And so what was the common ground? The common ground was not what we were wearing. Or what we were eating or whatever, how we were voting or how we were fucking or whatever. It was music. And so at that time, of course, especially living in Hermosa or Redondo Beach, it wouldn't have mattered too much what the hell. I mean, you could have been a Republican, Democrat, whatever. If you liked the Ramones, you're come here. We're going to start hanging out. We're friends. We're buddies. We're comrades.